Good morning, guys. In the previous slides, last 6 classes, I explained you about the chapter 1, that is power sharing. Chapter 2, we are into chapter 2, that is federalism. And in federal form of government, we studied about the types of federation, meaning of federation, the type of federation, that is coming together and holding together federation. We studied about holding together federation. We also studied about features of federalism, and we also studied about the various type of practices which generally we are generally found in India. And further in this topic we also studied about the union list, state list and concurrent list. Union list gives power to the which government? Central government. State list gives power to the state government. Concurrent list gives power to both state and central government. 97 subjects are there in union list, 66 subjects are there in state list, and 47 subjects are there in concurrent list. Till this we studied in last time. Now let us move to the next topic. The question for you, that the Constitution of India was adopted in which year? That is in the year 1950. In the year 1950, there was no existence of mobile phone, there was no televisions, there was no cyber crime, there was no Amazon, Flipkart or any door delivery of any kind of e-commerce. So, the Constitution foreseen all those things. So, the Constitution of India made a separate clause that is called residuary powers. So what is residuary powers? The meaning of residuary powers. Residuary powers are the subjects those who are not included in union list, state list and concurrent list. So subjects which are not included in the 3 lists, they are called as residuary powers. Residuary powers or residuary subjects which are not included in the above 3 lists, that is union list, state list and concurrent list. Now, the Constitution of India empowers residuary powers to the central government. So, central government is enjoined to pass the law on the residuary subjects. So, residuary subjects are those subjects which were not existed when the Constitution of India came into force, that is in the year 1950. Example. For example, e-commerce. Just now I explained you e-commerce. What is online business is called as e-commerce. Online business was not there in the year 1950 because there were no mobile phones at that time. So there was no online business. Now what is, say for example, you purchase a camera from Amazon. So once you receive the parcel box from Amazon, in case if there is a fraud or if there is no proper item which you ordered, what you ordered and what you received, if it is different, then what is the solution? Solution is, first solution which you can return back to the person who sent you that parcel. Now imagine if Amazon is not ready to solve your problem, then definitely you can file a case in a consumer court. So consumer court definitely give a solution for all these problems. So whatever the problems which appear because of e-commerce, definitely solved. Cyber security, cyber crime. In the year 1950 there were no mobile phones. So now mobile phone is a common object. definitely cyber crime is solved by the government of India and urban planning. These are all the residuary powers. Now I repeat once again, residuary subjects or residuary powers are those subjects which are not included in union list, state list or concurrent list. Residuary subjects are those subjects which government is empowered to do this law on that is central government. Let us move to the third important organ of the government. The first organ of the government, first or second, third, we have three organs of the government: legislature, executive and judiciary. Legislature we studied, that is Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Executive, President, Vice President, Prime Minister, Council of Ministers, they are all called as executive. Very important, we have the third organ of the government, that is called judiciary. Judiciary is Supreme Court and High Court. It's called as judiciary in India. Now, what is the role played by judiciary? Judiciary plays a very important role to control the federal form of government or to maintain the federal form of government in a true democratic spirit. The judiciary plays an important role in overseeing the implementation of constitutional provisions. So what is the role of the judiciary? Judiciary will make sure that central government enjoys the power of union list, state government enjoys the power of state list. In case if the state government tried to interfere in the domain of state government, if the central government tried to interfere in the domain of state government, then definitely state government can approach state government can approach judiciary, Supreme Court. Take for example, during last month, a large number of people, they filed directly case in the Supreme Court to, especially those who are Indians who are settled down in Gulf countries. They wanted to come to India because of the pandemic corona. So they filed a case in Supreme Court and requested Supreme Court that please arrange travel facility from Gulf countries to India. As a result, the Supreme Court ordered the state government as well as central government to start a mission or start any kind of travel plans. According to that, we know the Vande Bharat mission started by the government of India, so that several Indians who are all settled down in other countries for the purpose of education or for the purpose of jobs, they are all safely back to India. So, judiciary plays an important role in implementation of constitutional conditions. Now, the second one, what is the role of judiciary? The role of judiciary, if there is a dispute between central government and state government over the subjects, if there is a dispute between central government and state government, then the Supreme Court decides that all these disputes are decided by either by the Supreme Court or High Court. So, Supreme Court or High Court definitely intervenes and settle the problem between central government and state government. Thus, the Indian government is an example for holding together federation. So, Indian government is an example for holding together federation. We studied all these features, but in India, the third organ of the government, which is the third organ of the government, judiciary. Judiciary plays an important role in controlling the activities of state government as well as central government and implementation of constitutional provisions. Let us move further. Till now we studied what is federalism in India. Okay. Now we will move on to the topic how it is practiced in India. That is called how federalism is practiced in India. One fine morning, India was not originated as a federal state or emerged as a federal state. You all studied in history the role of independence movement. The Indian National Congress, Azad Hind Fauj, and hundreds or thousands of Indians who freedom of this country. When we attained independence, we had several problems. What was the problem of India in 1947? Problem of India was in 1947. We were politically newly emerged independent country. We had more than 500 princely states like Mysore, Junagadh, Hyderabad, Jammu and Kashmir. Nearly more than 500 states in India were ruled by the kings, so princely states. We had an issue of language policy. We had the issue of the vast geographical area. So, what India in 2020? This is a much developed India, but when India attained independence, we definitely faced certain problems. Now, all these problems were solved by the active intervention of the leaders of those days and the constitution. We have certain important practices in India that these practices makes federalism successful. Now, first one, constitutional provisions are necessary for the success of federalism in India. If you refer the Constitution of India, Constitution clearly divided that central government enjoys the power in a particular sector. Constitution clearly explains that state government should enjoy the power in its own jurisdiction. Central government can collect the tax from the state government, maybe in the form of income tax. At the same time, state government can collect the tax in the form of excise duties or state GST. Today we are speaking about state GST. So, if you see the Constitution of India, Constitution clearly divided that what is the role, what is the power, what is the jurisdiction of central government. It also clearly explained what is the role, what is the power, and what is the role of jurisdiction of state government. Because of that, the chance of conflict is almost less. Second, the spirit of federalism can truly be seen in the respect of diversity in India and desire for living together. This very, very important problem which we faced in India in 1947. When India attained freedom in 1947, India is one such country which have large number of languages, registered, unregistered, scheduled, not scheduled, speaking language, written language. For example, you see, in India we have Hindi, English, Sanskrit, Bengali, Punjabi, Tamil, Manipuri, Nepali, Telugu, Konkani, Dogri, Kannada, Bodo, Odisha, Sindhi, so on. So India is one such country where large number of languages are spoken, and that's why it is very, very important to give importance to all these languages. If you remember my chapter number 1, that in Sri Lanka, one language is given so much importance, Sinhadi, the community was given importance. As a result, there was a lot of problem in Sri Lanka. We studied in chapter number 1. So, the government of India solved this problem in a very, very intelligent manner. Now, what is the first step taken by the government of India? The step number 1 taken by the government of India immediately after independence, that is linguistic division of states. I repeat, steps taken by the government of India to implement federation in India. What are the steps taken? Step number 1, that is linguistic division of India. Now, in the year 1952, when Nehru was addressing election rally, he promised that India will be soon divided on the basis of language. But this promise was not implemented. So, immediately in the year 1953, what happened? You can see this person, the image of this person. A person named Potti Sriramulu, who is considered as one of the greatest leader of Andhra Pradesh. Potti Sriramulu strike in Andhra Pradesh because he wanted Andhra Pradesh should be divided on the basis of language. So Potti Sriramulu went on a hunger strike. The government of India was forced to create state on the basis of language. So Andhra Pradesh is the first state created on the basis of language purely because of the effort of Potti Sriramulu, who went on a hunger strike and successful in creating a state on the basis of language. So Andhra Pradesh is the first state created on the basis of language. Now when Andhra Pradesh is created on the basis of language, naturally other states also definitely they are in their demands. Now after Andhra Pradesh was created as a separate state, in the year 1956, the States Reorganization Committee created 6 more states, and later it is definitely added 14 states on the basis of language. Karnataka, Kerala are the few states which they were created in the year 1956 on the basis of language. Kannada speakers, Kannadigas were called as state of Karnataka, Mysore. That is state of Mysore. Later it is renamed as Karnataka. So states like states were created in the year 1956 on the basis of language. Now don't conclude that all states were created on the basis of language. It's not like that. There are few states like Nagaland, Jharkhand, Uttarakhand. These states were created on the basis of culture. Naga culture, separate because of their cultural and ethnic identity, they demanded for a separate state. So there are few states, they are divided on the basis of the culture. Let us take the example of very fresh, that is division of Andhra Pradesh into Telangana and Seemandhra, Andhra Pradesh. This division was not on the basis of culture. This division was not on the basis of language. And what was the basis for this division? The basis for this division was the geography. The people of Telangana or Seemandhra, they felt that Andhra Pradesh is a geographically too big state. So to have a better administration, it is better to have a small state, geographically small state. So later division of states purely done on the basis of administrative requirements. That is, for the better administration, they wanted to have a smaller states. So division of states are purely done on the basis of, initially on the basis of language, later on the basis of culture, later on the basis of even for the administrative reasons. Okay. The formation of linguistic state has actually made the country India more unitary and administration made easier. Now initially many political leaders thought that if India is divided on the basis of language, definitely India will be divided into fragmentations or into small groups. But the beauty of India is that once India is divided on the basis of language, we become much more united, and the country India, the major slogan of, very famous slogan, that unity in diversity. That means we started appreciating the culture, language, food habits, dress habits, festivals of each and every state with their uniqueness. So linguistic division of states was the first step taken by the government of India to control and support the linguistic emotions of the people of India.